Think for a moment of the iconic scene in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, where Andy plays Mozart over the prison loudspeakers, infusing beauty and peace in a place that is harsh and oppressive. Think of how Dali presents his clocks, soft and melty, against the hard surfaces in the background. Or imagine tasting the tangy sauce and tender meat in a sweet and sour chicken dish. These examples are marked by sharp contrast, and contrast touches every corner of our lives, including the way you engage with your customers. Contrast is important because we are constantly surrounded by abundant stimulation, and our brains cannot process everything all at once. So we create shortcuts to make meaningful judgments about the world and arrive at decisions. Contrast is one such shortcut, which enables you to appreciate one stimulus through another stimulus. Movie makers use contrast, advertisers use contrast, and you too can use contrast to impact your audiences and help them make decisions effortlessly. Let's look at how you can do just that. But first, what evidence do we have that contrast is so effective? Abundant literature from behavioral science confirms that contrast is a shortcut to thinking and decision making. In my own neuroscience studies, I noticed the power of contrast frequently. For example, in one study, I asked business buyers to watch content related to sales processes. At the end, I asked them to take a bite out of some chocolate. I wanted to see which segment of the business content ignited the same reaction of being in that delightful state we all have when eating chocolate. One of the segments that overlapped in business content and biting chocolate was contrast-infused content. Contrast can be a tasteful technique. Here are some concrete examples that can help you include contrast in your messages. You can contrast small versus large, or juxtapose the old with the new, or something that works with something that doesn't, and therefore create some tension around your story. You can emphasize the benefits of your solution by contrasting volume or differences in strength. With this technique, you can add some theatrical wit in an otherwise predictable composition. I like contrasting serious with playful concepts. I remember creating a presentation on neuroscience principles for memorable content, and I used a slide that included a ladybug. Our designers helped me swap the predictable dots with symbols from playing cards. The composition juxtaposed the quiet, pensive presence of nature with the playful attitude of the ladybug. It's the kind of design that winks at you, reminding you to enjoy it. Speaking of whimsical, consider overcoming your instinct to respect reality when it comes to proportions and scale. If you think of what is smaller or larger than expected in real life, you can contrast scale to achieve incongruity. In this example, the oversized object makes the benefit of a solution obvious at a quick glance. And of course, you can make a point persuasive with color contrast. You can see how the appeal of this message stems from the contrast between the chilly gray and the warm yellow. Or, in this example, an audience can appreciate the intensity of a point because of the fiery red against a cold grayscale. Speaking of colors, one of the reasons a composition does not work is because there are too many vivid and greedy colors, and when everything competes for attention, nothing catches it. Ultimately, the best example of contrast is your own lifestyle. Consider for a moment how you spend most of your days. You dedicate some hours to conducting a symphony of chaos and energy at work. You spend some hours in a sanctuary of silence. Both segments are important to your success, and it's in the hustle and the hush that perhaps you find some harmony. One standard that applies to all the examples you've seen is that they contain enough contrast so the brain can perceive it. Think of Lady Gaga's song, in which she says, "I've got 100 million reasons to leave, I just need one good one to stay." This is a song about heartbreak and hope, and the impact would not have been as strong if she had said, "I have 3 reasons to leave and just need one good one to stay." What is the threshold for the brain to perceive contrast anyway? For items like weight, tone, or size, a minimum of 40% increase from one item to the next is what the brain needs to perceive distinctiveness. Reflecting on your own ideas that are important, what is your equivalent of a 40% difference? Can you go bolder? Can you go higher than 40%, especially when you want to differentiate against competition? Contrast is about courage. And when you are courageous, your content may be perceived as delicious as a bite of chocolate.